Join Lee Bellinger today on the Bellinger Report. Lee is the publisher of Off-Grid Confidential, one of the last information financial newsletters to be delivered 100% through the mail and completely independent of the internet and big tech scolds. Lee has been publishing continuously since 1988 and is your guide to off-grid living.
Hi, everybody. This is Lee Bellinger with the Bellinger Report, and I'm talking with Mr. Gary Polk today, Mr. Gary Polk Sr., and he's the author of a new book. He does, in fact, stuff for his college textbooks, but this one is called Why Black and Brown Entrepreneurs Fail to Win, and it's published recently. And so congratulations on your new book, Mr. Polk. And how's your sales going? Are they good?
You know,
some attention?
I'm selling it through Amazon. I don't really check that too regularly. I wrote my first book. They said, well, if you're going to be an author, it's going to be one or two things. Either you're going to make a lot of money like a very few do, like John Grisham, Walter Mosley, or you'll be considered an expert in your field. So I'll take that latter route. So I don't really track that. Actually, half of my book sales, I'm donating to a nonprofit called the Compton Youth Build, where I serve on the board of directors. So it's really not a monetary thing at all.
Fair enough. Well, sometimes that's the best.
Yeah.
So to begin, why don't you tell me a little bit about how you got started and just tell us your story?
Well, I can tell you that my parents are from Texas. I grew up in Los Angeles, the South Bay area specifically, went to high school, part of LA Unified, went to Loyola Marymount for an undergrad, and got my master's at Cal State Dominguez Hills down in Carson. And it's interesting because I never dreamed of teaching, but in 1991, I was offered a teaching opportunity at Cal State Northridge, and they asked me to teach Introduction to Business because they wanted to recruit more Black and Latinos to come to Northridge. And here we are 30 years later, and I started the Polk Institute in January of this year. And our focus is on Black and brown entrepreneurs. But what we want to do is offer them a tuition-free, master-level, practitioner-driven education. And so in some ways, I've come full circle from teaching in 91 to starting a business called the Polk Institute Foundation. So that's in a nutshell. In between, I had 3 kids, 5 grandkids. I love what I do. I started a book club in 1995, co-ed, that's still going strong. So I'm just having a ball with life.
What's your top 2 favorite books?
Great question. I would say number 1 would be The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews. And number 2 would be The Magic Strings of Frankie Presto. So my favorite genre is historical fiction. Both of those are historical fiction. And both of these authors are amazing. I don't know. You remember a Sports Illustrated writer named Mitch Albom?
I don't, but
he wrote the book Tuesdays with Maury. Got a lot of notoriety. So he wrote The Magic Strings of Frankie Presto, and this may be the only book that has a soundtrack related with the same title of the book. And it's an amazing story about a fictionary character who ran into all of these people. Real life people, amazing stories. So
that's
there
great.
you go.
So what are some of the tactics you use when you consult people? Like, what are the things you recommend to entrepreneurs as a business consultant?
Good question. I always start with make sure it's your passion, that it's a failure business. It's a journey. You're going to get beat up. Figuratively, you will get punched in the mouth. You'll get punched in the gut. If you're doing it for the money, you're going to tap out and you're going to quit. So first of all, it has to be your passion. There's a author named Simon Sinek who wrote a book called It Starts With Why. And his main point, which I 100% agree with, is that before you get into what you do and how you do it, people want to know why you're doing it. What's your why? And that kind of relates to your passion. So what's your backstory? Are you in this to make a lot of money, or do you want to make an impact? Do you want to make a difference? Do you see a problem that needs to be solved? Do you see a problem that can be done better? Do you want to be disruptive? Those are all reasons. I was surprised in one of my business books, it said the number one reason why people go into business is to continue a family business. I was a little surprised by that. I spent 10 years in banking, and second generation businesses usually did not go well.
And then the third and fourth are even more dismal.
Exactly.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's a great example of how true that really is.
Without a doubt. But the other part of your question is, what I do is I ask questions. I take what's called the Socratic approach.
Right.
I want to ask questions, and I hope that by asking questions, I'm going to get you to think critically. As an advisor, I always say that you have 2 votes. I have 1. So, Lee, if I was advising you and you wanted to go left and I told you to go right, we're going left. If you wanted to go blue and I wanted to go red, we're going blue. So, because at the end of the day, you're the CEO, you're going to get advice from a lot of people. And if you make the right decisions, you'll soar. And if you make the wrong decisions, you'll crash and burn. And it'll all be based on you. So I don't try to tell people what to do, but I tell you one thing, you must be coachable. So I coached basketball at the college level for 8 years, total high school 6 years, so about 14 years. And one of the things I brought from the sports world is being coachable. So if you're not coachable as an entrepreneur, I cannot help you. But if you are coachable, because of my varied background that spent 10 years in banking at B of A, working with all kinds of businesses, and then teaching for another 30 years, I can work with anybody in any business. If you know your industry, then I can help you form a solid foundation that is scalable and sustainable.
Yeah, a lot of people go into business for the wrong reasons, like you say, and that's a very powerful and important point you're making, because if you're a hard-headed, stubborn guy and doesn't want to listen to a boss, that's a rotten reason to go into business, isn't it?
Right.
And, so I'm kind of curious, the single biggest challenge you faced in your career in this area as you were founding the Polk Institute.
Well, you just helped me out, because at first I was all over the place, but the biggest challenge with the Polk Institute is that we are a nonprofit and raising money. So one of the things I talk about is, are you a fundable CEO? And what I mean by that is, can you articulate a vision that's inspiring and make people want to be part of that? And then number 2, can you go out and assemble a team of people that are smarter than you in disciplines such as marketing, finance, operations, HR, and then technology? And then the third thing is, can you go out and get the resources, the financial, the partnerships, the other top players? And so my biggest difficult thing is where we are now, raising money, raising the financial. We're a nonprofit, and I've often coached nonprofit people and say you have to run your business like a business, not like a nonprofit. You can't just maybe take the easy way out and say, oh, we're just a nonprofit. No, you're a business. Profit may not be number 1, but you have to have cash flow. You got to have sources of revenue. Otherwise, you're going to be out of business.
You can't change the world if you can't pay the rent.
There you go. So what we've done is set some very ambitious goals. I have a chief financial officer who put together $1 million operating budget. But what is really aspirational is that we want to raise a $100 million endowment over the next 3 years, so we can then take that endowment and invest it and live off our investment income to be sustainable. So we don't have to run around and chase grant money and foundation money every year in and year out, which a lot of nonprofits do. So the big challenge is first raising the million and then raising the 100 million. And if I had mentioned this 2 or 3 years ago, prior to COVID-19 and the civil unrest around Black Lives Matter, that may have been sounding ludicrous. But now you have people like Mackenzie Scott, the ex-Mrs. Jeff Bezos, giving away $4 and $5 billion. And there are people out there that want to do things for the right reasons. And the Polk Institute, we focus on Black and brown founders, underrepresented, but we're not exclusive. So we launched our first class in February this year. We had 17 women entrepreneurs and 9 men. We had 17 Black and brown, 7 white, and 2 Asian. So we had the nice diversity, and this is what it's really all about. So if you understand marketing, you know that you can have a target market, but that doesn't mean you're excluding others. So our target market is Black and brown, but we're inclusive of others. And it was amazing because everything is virtual. You and I are on a Zoom call. Zoom just changed a lot of things. We did not have to have brick and mortar to provide classes. Now we can have a Zoom class. We're face to face. We can put a PowerPoint on. We can bring in a class of 30 people. This weekend, I was involved in something called Landmark. There were 130 people on the screen. They had 3 different screens. So you can teach online now. It's just an amazing thing. And we're using that technology, but our challenge is we have people in Atlanta, New York, Chicago, Boston, and Denver. So now we got this time issue where we thought that most people with Southern California based at, and now we have people, we started at 7, it's 10 there. We're done at 11 or 9, 11. So we have, some time challenges, but it's great because we really can impact more people because of Zoom technology.
That's great. And now I had another question for you. So tell me a little bit about some of the other organizations you're involved in and how long have you been a part of those organizations? Organizational alliance, coalition building kind of thing. Okay.
I can say that I'm very proud to be part of an organization called NFTE, the National, Network For Teaching Entrepreneurship. They target middle and high school kids and they teach them entrepreneurship. So I was involved with the LA chapter about 2015, 2016, and I really gave a lot of time and I received quite an honor, actually 2 honors. First, I received the LA chapter Volunteer of the Year for NFTE. And then in 2020, I received the National Volunteer of the Year for NFTE. And they're a nationwide organization. So I was very proud of that and very humbled to receive such an award. So that was very cool. I'm also an executive director of a company or an organization, nonprofit called Entre Nous. And what they really do is called the Compton Youth Build. And the Compton Youth Build focuses on Black and brown young people, 16 to, I got to make sure I don't call them kids. So young people, 16 to 24. And these are kids, there I go. These are young people that maybe had a jagged life, maybe didn't have the silver spoon, maybe had more of a wooden spoon. And we have a construction program. We have a culinary arts program. So we're really proud of that. They've been around since, I think, 2013. Kim Hughes and Sarah Silver, the founders. And when I found out about them, I was actually doing some part-time work with the SBA. And Sarah, their CFO, contacted me and said, hey, we're trying to get a PPP and an EIDL loan. Can you help us out? And I said, absolutely. And so I showed them how to do it. They received some money. And then I started asking questions about what they do. And I said, wow, this is pretty cool. You guys need any help? What kind of help do you need? So they told me the type of help they need. And so, well, why don't you join our board of directors? So in September 2019, I joined the Compton Youth Bill board of directors. So those are 2 organizations I'm very proud of and I work with. When we started our Polk Institute Foundation, I met with a banker that I had known for a while. He says, Gary, I think a lot of you, but the Polk Institute, in bank terms, you're still a startup. So you either need to go find a fiscal sponsor, another foundation or nonprofit that will endorse you, and I'll see you in June or July, or I'll see you in 3 years. So that told me I need to do something immediately. Went out, was told no 3 or 4 times, was introduced to the executive director of the Los Angeles Urban League. He heard our story. Michael Lawson jumped on it and became our fiscal sponsor. So now we have a very legitimate organization that was founded in LA in 1921. Wow. So they've been around 100 years. And so those 3 organizations, I love it.
Let me ask you one other thing before our time expires. But what does a man like you do in your free time? But it doesn't sound like you have much of that. You did some coaching, it sounds so. But I always ask. I like to ask people what their hobbies are and what they do in their spare time.
Well, I'm an avid reader. So I joined a co-ed book club I mentioned a little bit earlier, 1995. A good friend of mine, we started a book club. And because of that, I read a book a month. And because you're in a co-ed book club, you read things that you normally would not read. So I've read books like, what was it? The Bridges Over Madison County. And a buddy of mine said, Gary, what is that in your hand? Really? And then I've read Nicholas Sparks' The Notebook. And then I read The Nightingale and some books that I would never read on my own, but it really kind of extended me. So it's really a cool thing. And so that's something I do. I'm an LA sports fan, so I bleed Dodger blue, and we're not doing well right now. We have a good record, but we're giving games away. And I love the Lakers. I love the Rams. And then I had this little weird thing that I love USC football, but UCLA basketball. And so you can't be a Trojan and a Bruin. I said, why not? I grew up in the John Wooden era, so I got to love John Wooden as the greatest basketball coach in the world ever. And then USC football, I saw this guy named OJ run up and down against Ohio State. Then they had this white horse that run, and the guy would throw this big forward into the ground. And I'm like 12 years old. I said, that's my team.
Oh, man.
So I'm a sports guy. I love sports. I have second marriage, a beautiful wife, Claudine. I have 3 adult children and 5 grandchildren. So I love family life too.
You're a busy man. So, is there anything I've overlooked that you'd like to add?
Well, I guess contact, if you want to contact me.
Let's lay it on us.
So that's G Polk at Polk-ISE, IndianSamEdward.com. Our website is www.polk-isc.org. So you can find out about the Polk Institute. I also teach at Cal State University, Dominguez Hills. I teach business management. I teach ethics, and I teach entrepreneurship. And I can just say that the thing that probably encapsulates me the most, Gandhi said it when he said that you want to live as if you're going to die tomorrow, and you want to learn if you're going to live forever. And that's who Gary Polk is.
I couldn't put it better. That's great stuff. Mr. Polk, I want to thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I want to wish you great luck on your future endeavors. Love your energy, and I like that. I like that attitude. You've got a good attitude, and I hope you continue to help people and for the good of us all.
My cup is always going to be half full, and I want you to call me Gary because, like I mentioned, my best friend is named Lee.
Gary Lee. Mr. Gary, then it is.
No, just Gary.
I'm just yanking your chain. Come on.
Okay. Well, you can't be all bad. You got some Cody Bellinger relative out there.
Yeah, Cody Bellinger, man.
No Dodgers.
Yep. That's right. That's pretty cool. So anyway, you have a great day.
Thank you.
And I'm very grateful. And you're a great interview. I wish you good luck.
Well, I'm grateful that you had me here too. Thank you so much.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Take care. Goodbye.